everyone, my name is Carien van der Haven and I'm a researcher and advisor for DRIFT, the Dutch Research Institute for Transitions. Today I'm going to tell you all about how to co-create nature-based solutions. First of all, I will explain what are actually nature-based solutions. Well, let's start with a few examples. Nature-based solutions can be an open garden in a local preschool, which is also used by the local community. Another example is a pocket park in a busy street, which can boost biodiversity and also increase the quality of living in this street. Another example could be a blue-green infrastructure for local enterprises, which enhances the neighborhood for the enterprises and the local residents. These are just a few examples of nature-based solutions. Nature-based solutions can be defined as solutions that do not only serve natural purposes, but in using nature as a solution, they also solve social and economic issues. So nature serves as an integral solution. This is why nature-based solutions are found really important, but also very complex. Working on these kind of solutions make that you have to consider different challenges. It's difficult to know what the best solution for a local area is. Another thing is, how should these solutions be financed? They serve so many goals, so how could this be organized? And another question is, who should be involved to make sure that it reaches its best potential? These questions make working on nature-based solutions quite challenging. And this is why we as DRIFT joined the Connecting Nature Research Consortium, which is forming a community of cities, researchers, industry players, and other partners. And together we are focusing on peer-to-peer learning. How can we make sure that cities across Europe and further share their knowledge on working on these type of solutions? And together we can increase capacity building. And how can we make sure everybody grows and learns? And this is a way we work towards large-scale implementation of nature-based solutions across the world and accelerate this transition. We as DRIFT have worked on the development of the Connecting Nature framework, which is intended to support these cities in working on nature-based solutions. As you can see, this is the framework. It consists of 3 phases. The first phase is called the planning phase, where the goals of a project are defined. Another phase, the second phase, is the delivery phase, where a design is made and the implementation of the project is being realized. And the last phase is called the stewardship phase. Here, the maintenance and impact assessment of what has been done is in the focus. Each of these phases has 7 elements, and this framework helps cities to make sure that they consider all these elements in each phase. Examples are, how do we make sure that we find the right technical solution, which is the purple bullet. Another one is, how do we make sure that we organize financing and business models in the right way? And the one I'm going to discuss with you today is co-production. Co-production is one of the elements, which is depicted here in yellow. Co-production can be defined as a way to create solutions in equal collaboration with different stakeholders. And it also supports the process of realizing nature-based solutions in a city. Why should you co-produce or co-create nature-based solutions? Well, nature-based solutions are known that they deliver solutions for many challenges in one idea. But this is not easy. You need multiple types of knowledge and experience, and also cross-community partnerships in order to reach this. You should know what the problem is of different stakeholders. You should know what the actual issue is that you can involve in your solution. And in order to do that, you will need these cross-community partnerships. Another challenge in creating nature-based solutions is that you need empowerment and long-term commitment from the users and other stakeholders. You can, of course, design a park, but when it's not used in the right way or maintained, it will break down eventually, and all the efforts will have the least impact. This is why co-production and co-creation can be used to overcome these challenges. So a little bit more on what co-production actually is. We define it as a collaborative mode of governance. We see it as an active engagement of different actors They all bring different types of knowledge to the table, their own experiences, their own academic background, or their own role in the system. And together they are creating collaborative outputs. This can be visions or strategic agendas, maybe new understandings of what the problem in an area actually is, but also the design of new solutions. Together they can also create collaborative outcomes. This means that they share a feeling of ownership of a project, that they feel empowered to together work on a project, and also that they have long-term commitment to stay involved. Well, with this in mind, you might ask, how can we do this? We have some tips and pitfalls for you to consider. At the one hand, you should make sure that you work on neighborhood engagement. When there is a plan to redevelop an area, make sure that the people living there are involved. Go into the neighborhoods and use multiple forms of communication to make sure that you know what's of interest there. The second idea is that you should make sure that there is a shared understanding of what the problem actually is. This is a way to build trust. Another one is to make sure that there is political support and political momentum. When your project has support, it's way more likely to have a success and also be used for different agendas in the local municipality. And the last advice is to clearly communicate about what should be done and is being done in the project. By informing all the relevant stakeholders on what they can expect, they are way much likely to stay involved and take up responsibility. We also have 3 pitfalls, things you shouldn't do when doing co-creation. You should not only select participants that you've known before. By finding participants that you don't know before, you will learn about new perspectives, opinions that you haven't heard before. A second thing to not do when doing co-production is predefining problems and goals. By involving people in this process, your problem definition will be much richer and much more nuanced, and you are sure that the solution will also meet the right interests. And the last advice is to not forget to follow up. When you involve people in a certain phase of a process, and you will not tell them what has happened with their input, it's not likely that they will be happy about it and stay involved. So by making sure that you follow up on the process, people will be happier to stay involved and take responsibility. In order to give you a bit more feeling of how this should look like, I will give you a few examples that we have encountered in our project Connecting Nature. The first example is about Genk, which is a city in Belgium. In Genk, they have used interdepartmental collaboration as a form of co-production. In Genk, the environmental department was working on the redevelopment of the Steamer Valley. The Steamer is a river close to Genk, and it is surrounded by a natural valley that needed some more attention. Close to it, there was a project from the economic department, which was redeveloping a local shopping area, which was called the Stalenstraat. Because these areas are so close by, these departments started to work together. And together they have created one joint integrated plan, which serves both of their challenges and connects the projects in a very good way. They also developed new ideas because they both had a different perspective on the issues. For instance, they have created a hiking route to connect the 2 areas. And also they have created a kind of gateway, an area where restaurants, playgrounds, and natural resting place connected the 2 areas in order to make sure that users were invited to come from the valley to the shopping street and from the shopping street to the valley, that both areas are used properly. And because of the interdepartmental collaboration, this was possible. They could learn from each other's interests, and it took them less time to come to this solution. Another example comes from Poland. In Poznan, they have worked on co-designing a school garden. Local schools were redeveloping their gardens, and the intention was that these gardens would also serve the local residents in the municipality. They tried to design this garden in a way that it would also meet the interests of all these types of users. So they organized a workshop for children, for parents, for teachers and citizens, and together they have designed how the school garden could look like. How would they like their garden to look like? How would they want to use it? In the picture, you see an example of how this was depicted and designed. And the project team used all these ideas to come up with a final design. And it helped them to better understand what the local users needed of this garden and how they would like to use it in a good way. And this process did not only help the design to be better, but it also helped the local users to get involved from the start. And they also felt a shared responsibility of maintaining and taking care of this place. They also helped building the place and also planting the trees and planting the plants when the implementation phase was there. And also the school was much more eager to support in financing this garden. So it has multiple benefits for them to start with a co-creative process. Lastly, I would like to tell you a bit more about what we have developed as a Connecting Nature team at Drift. We have created a set of design principles that can help projects to make sure that they do good co-production. What should you take into account when you're doing co-production? How can you make sure that you're doing good co-production or that you take everything that's relevant into account? One thing is you should make sure that your process is open, inclusive, and legitimate. Secondly, you should think about the outputs of your process. Are they relevant for policy and planning? Are they usable by participants and empowering? And are they also working on breaking down silos to facilitate linking of agendas? These questions are also worked out in a guidebook that we have developed. You can find this on our website and the website of Connecting Nature. This was my presentation. Thank you very much. You can reach me for any questions on the email address below.